I guess my version of a naked mom would be my mom had this ratty old house coat that she insisted on wearing all the time. And I guess that felt vulnerable in a sense. That felt like, not that my mom worked in an office when I was growing up, like she did when I was in high school, but like buttoned up and she managed, her and my dad owned a restaurant, so she was managing that all day and like dealing with customers and dealing with the outside public world. And it felt to me like when she put this robe on, it was like, you're home. You don't have to feel like, you can be like vulnerable. You can be like yourself with your family.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like I call mine Old Dusty and Crusty because like it's the robe that I put on that I got from a spa, that I put on whenever I'm doing my makeup. So it's covered in like foundation around the neck, and I'm doing my hair or like lashes. So there's like lash glue all over it. So I get that, like feeling like you don't have to put on and perform because you're at home and you're in your safe space. I think what's particular about having a naked mom, and like you said, it is kind of a spectrum.
Welcome to Playing House, the podcast about keeping your relationship sexy and secure. My name is Kolter and this is my wife,
Dominique. We're a real couple having real conversations, inviting you in as our third.
On today's episode, the naked mom. No naked moms on this show.
I'm fully clothed.
Yeah, and I'm also not a mom, and I'm also fully clothed. When did this come across your radar? Because I feel like I saw a video, somebody talking about a naked mom like a couple of weeks ago. That's when the naked mom discourse started for me.
Right. Well, that's when I first heard about it too. And so to give a little bit of context, the naked mom discussion is around the belief that you grew up with one of two types of moms, which is a mom who was either very comfortable being naked and walking around the house, whether it's topless or in a towel or just a robe, for example, or you had a mom who, growing up, did not at all feel comfortable showing her body. And so you always saw her fully clothed. Maybe she was a little bit more body conscious, but the belief is that having a naked mom, a mom who was comfortable being topless or in a towel, for example, made you have as a woman, it made you have more of an appreciation for your body. And as a man, it made you have an appreciation for the female form without sexualizing it.
So it's kind of like a spectrum, right? Like you could be like a partially naked mom.
Yeah.
You could be like a fully naked mom. You could be like a never nude.
A never nude.
Like what was his name on Arrested Development? Not Job. God damn, that'll kill me. Well, comment below. First, call me an idiot, and then also give me the actual character's name. That'll be helpful. And the actor was in Alvin and the Chipmunks. Probably not nude in that show either. No, like no naked mom in your house growing up.
No, like I would say, if my mom sees this, she'll cuss me. But yeah, I'd say I grew up with a naked mom, and a lot of the comments.
What are you seeing?
When you first saw the clip, you were like kind of giggling to yourself, like, what is it? What the hell is a naked mom? And a lot of the comments are like, this is really Caribbean, African, like culture in the household. And that, like, I'll say this, I grew up with three sisters, and my mom in the house. So it was a house full of women. My mom was really comfortable just like walking around in her robe all the time. Or she came out of the shower and I was watching TV in her room, then she'd get dressed in the bedroom. Like, it wasn't a big deal where she had to like immediately cover up or, Dom, get out of the room immediately. It was just like, yeah, you're in my space. I'm getting out of the shower. You understand that this is what's about to happen. So, and it wasn't like I was ogling or anything, but I'd like see her body for that reason. And like as an adult now, especially after having had a child, like I'm seeing her body reflected in my body, if that makes sense.
Take me deeper on that, though. What do you mean? Like you feel like you look like your mom, or you're starting to look like your mom, or you feel like how you carry yourself makes you look like what do you mean?
I'll say this. Okay, so because my mom was the first like woman's body that I ever came to appreciate or like notice. Like I noticed her hands, for example, and I always thought, like, as I was growing, do I see more of my mom's hands in my hands? Like really long fingers. And there was a trend in the 90s or like the early 2000s of like toe cleavage. And so the top of your toes basically would show off the top of your heels. And that was called toe cleavage, and it was super hot. And so I'd always notice my mom's toe cleavage, for example, or notice like her legs, like how the veins would show in her legs, like notice certain things about her legs. And then like coming out of the shower, for example, when she's getting dressed, I noticed her breasts, for example. And it wasn't like saying this, I'm imagining people are kind of like, whoa, what? That's weird. But it wasn't weird because it was like my mom, I'm the fourth child. So like her body had changed by then, or like, I don't know what it looked like before. But I could already see like, oh, that's what her body looks like after having had 4 children. And so after having Nia, I remember going into the washroom, like when they brought me back to the hospital room and I was able to walk and walking into the mirror and seeing like how my body had changed, how my breast started to sag, for example, how my skin, like it was only a few hours after giving birth. So like I still kind of had like a baby pouch, but just starting to notice like, first of all, it taught me to appreciate her body and look forward to my aging body, like coming into my womanhood and what my body would eventually look like. But then being able to see that reflected in mine. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, like, yeah, from like someone hearing this, but
Yeah.
I don't know what my sister experienced growing up. But like, oh my God, seeing my mom naked, never. Like, she'd wear a robe, and maybe that was the extent of it.
Okay.
My mom had this robe, maybe she still does. It was from the hospital when she was like 16 or something like that.
Oh my God.
And she'd only wear it when she was dyeing her hair.
Oh, okay.
I'm kidding. My mom never dyed her hair. No, that never happened. Or like when, like it was going to be something like if she was going to get it dirty, it was this thing. So
Yeah.
like I often think, I guess my version of a naked mom would be my mom had this ratty old house coat that she insisted on wearing all the time. And I guess that felt vulnerable in a sense. That felt like, not that my mom worked in an office when I was growing up, like she did when I was in high school, but like buttoned up and she managed, her and my dad owned a restaurant. So she was managing that all day and like dealing with customers and dealing with the outside public world. And it felt to me like when she put this robe on, it was like, you're home. You don't have to feel like, you can be like vulnerable. You can be like yourself with your family.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like I call mine Old Dusty and Crusty because like it's the robe that I put on that I got from a spa. That I put on whenever I'm doing my makeup. So it's covered in like foundation around the neck and I'm doing my hair or like lashes. So there's like lash glue all over it. So I get that, like feeling like you don't have to put on and perform because you're at home and you're in your safe space. I think what's particular about having a naked mom, and like you said, it is kind of a spectrum. Like you don't have to be like completely nude to be a naked mom. It's like however you're comfortable showing a bit of skin. Yeah. So I think as a mom now, hearing these discourses come up, because I never considered it. As a child, it was just like, yeah, we're a house full of girls. We're comfortable showing our bodies, whatever. And like as a little girl, I was always in a t-shirt and a panty. That was my thing. Even now as a woman, like I'm always in a t-shirt and a panty. I'm walking around in those two things. As a mom now, hearing these discourses around the naked mom, it makes me more aware of like, am I hiding my body or how am I embracing my body in front of my own daughter? And so like looking back at photos, Nia always has my phone. She's always capturing photos and videos on my phone. So like I look back and like she's capturing me as I'm in a bra and panty, for example. And I'm in like leak-proof underwear because I'm on my period. And that's when I the most don't want to be in clothing because I'm bloated, whatever. So I'm looking back at that footage and I'm thinking it's completely normal for her to see me in this state.
Yeah.
Yeah, my vulnerability because I'm in like padded underwear. So it's vulnerable in that way, but it's also like, yeah, mom's comfortable and I'm comfortable with mom, and therefore I should be comfortable with myself as I begin to age, as I continue to grow, for example. So I'm wondering, because I've seen a lot of men speak on the topic, saying that I'll say what they said later, but like, what are your thoughts?
No,
on
please.
Naked mom. So what I've seen is, well, I've only seen one dude speak on it, and he said he grew up with a naked mom, and it taught him to his sister and his mom. And that it taught him from an early age that the female body is not necessarily something to be like to sexualize. It's normal. Just as normal as it is to see your own body, it's normal to see another woman's body or another person's body, and you don't have to sexualize it. Just like breastfeeding in public. For the longest time, it was, oh my God, how can you do that? Like, you're so gross. That's for the private space. It's like, no, my kid is hungry and I have the ability to feed them. I'm going to whip out my tit if I need to and feed this child. The female body should be normalized. And him having a naked mom, naked sister, did that for him. It allowed him to see it that way. So I'm wondering your take on that?
I mean, I'll talk about breastfeeding in public. I think that there's a lot less stigma around that now. Like, I feel like you and I were at a restaurant recently and a woman was breastfeeding and I called the cops. I'm like, this is not in this restaurant. I'm having a French onion soup. Let's have some respect
Right.
here. I think it's a lot more normalized now. And even like at malls, you're seeing like lactation rooms. And I mean, like, what are we're gonna yell at a woman because a baby who needs food and like didn't ask to be here needs food? Like, is it really that big of a deal? And I think it's part of a larger, maybe you could call it a trend, maybe you could call it men being men, where we sexualize women up until the point where they become mothers and then they have no sexual worth to
Not
us
allowed.
whatsoever.
Yep.
And so we don't want to be reminded that this can also happen. And by this, I mean that you can have a baby, that your body isn't...
Beyond sex, beyond something that can be used for sex.
Yeah, it happens. And so I think that that's a reminder for people that maybe it like chastens people a little bit. Maybe when they see that, they go like, oh, I want to chase away this feeling that like, did I look at that woman? Was I sexually attracted to her for a minute? Like, should I be disgusted with myself? And it's like, people are doing too much. Somebody wants to breastfeed in public. Breastfeed in public. It's not that big of a deal. Like I said, my mom was not a naked mom. I mean, she was, I guess, when she made my sister and I, but
Oh my God.
I saw my dad naked one time, and it was when he was teaching me how to shower and like how to wash your junk, and like that was it. And that was enough for me.
That's crazy.
That was enough for me. I'm like, I'm good. I think I got the basics of it here. I think that well, let me pause here because you didn't even ask me about a naked dad. You asked me about a naked mom. It's a weird thing to say. You're dealing with kids and then you're talking about adult nudity, but I think that what we're talking about is a stripping away of the sexuality of it. And I think that anything that makes kids, boys and girls, or non-binary kids, like kids in general, makes them more confident about themselves and feel less embarrassed about their bodies, I think is a good thing. However, we can safely do that.
Yeah, like I agree. I think that as much as it is stripping away the sexuality of it all, also heightens the sexuality because. So for me as a young girl, it was, okay, that's what my mom's body looked like. That's what my sister's bodies look like. I have an idea of what my body will eventually look like. Like starting to develop stretch marks, for example. I started getting stretch marks in like the 8th grade. And I was in the change room. And one of my friends, she's like, oh my God, you have stretch marks on your thighs too and on your butt. I have that too. She's like, I'd never seen someone else have that before. And it's this idea that like stretch marks are this horrific thing that you start to develop when you start to gain weight and you lose collagen in your skin. And after having a child, it's a representation of your body losing it, basically. But like we had it in the 8th grade as like pubescent young girls, right? So it was normalizing that. So I didn't have that thought because I'd seen it reflected in my mom and my sisters. And so was being able to accept that then also heightens it for me now because like having stretch marks now is something that you appreciate. Like sometimes like you'll rub on my stretch marks and tell me like that you like them, that they represent whatever. And so, yeah, having that normalized then also heightens that experience. And like I love parts of my body that I've been told weren't the perfect thing. Like Instagram, you're not going to see a bunch of stretch marks. They're going to Facetune that out. They're going to airbrush that out. But because I've seen it and it's been normalized for me, like, no, I love that. Like, come look at my thighs because like I got the trail showing you where to go. You know what I mean?
Don't you feel like that's becoming more common even in advertising? Like this, like Dove did it, and I'm sure continues to do it, where it's not even like it's okay, but this embracing of, and I hate to call them imperfections because I don't think they're imperfections, but what I think typical European beauty standards have considered to be imperfections, right? You're seeing some people, I mean, stretch marks, sure. You're seeing sagging body parts, sure. You're also seeing like
Wrinkles.
amputees.
Yeah.
You're seeing people with, you're seeing regular everyday people.
Yeah, you're seeing freckles, you're seeing vitiligo, you're seeing acne. You're just seeing people in their natural human form.
Sure.
And again, I think that seeing my mom's body versus like my sister's bodies, for example, like very different body types. But it normalized that for me. It normalized that like, you know, breasts can begin to sag at a very early age because of the size, for example, or that like not every, like this whole figure eight, and growing up in the 90s especially, like it wasn't even about figure eight. It was about being like heroin thin at the end of the day, right? But like that was never reflected in my household. That was never reflected in my aunts, my cousins, the people, the Black women around me at the end of the day. So if I wasn't seeing it there, I was at least seeing it in my own home, in my own family, and the people around me. So that now when we're starting to see it normalized in the media, you know, beautiful, amazing, but it's almost seen as like, even if you look like this, you can still love yourself. That's not really the message. It's not confidence despite. It's confidence because of. It's this and, you know what I mean? And so I'm happy that I got to see that, because it wasn't a matter of like, even though we all look like this, we're still happy Black women. It was like, we're happy Black women and, or because, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like you're pretty for a Black girl, you're pretty for a
Right.
whatever.
Oh, you're thick. You're so confident to show your body. What?
Yeah.
No, this is my body. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm happy that it's in advertising. I'm happy that it's in media. And I think it takes people, and when I say regular everyday people, we're all regular everyday people. Like if you think that whichever celebrity in the world or person in the world you think is the absolute hottest, like everybody gets diarrhea. I always say that. Everybody has bad skin days. Everybody, and not even bad skin days. Everybody has days where they have acne. That's more prevalent than other days. We all have days where, you know, we look in the mirror and we don't like what's looking back at us. We all have those days.
Yeah.
And I think you're entitled to a couple of minutes of being in your feelings. And then I wish that we could all feel empowered to, and it takes all of us to make that happen. I wish that everybody was empowered to feel like they can take a moment to feel like crap about it and then just go like, this doesn't serve me. I don't need to feel like crap. And I'm not going to let anybody else's standards or anybody else's comments or snickers make me feel bad about my body.
Right.
And also, like, moms are allowed to feel hot. Mom should feel hot, right?
Well, yeah.
You're more than a mom.
100%. So it's like when we're talking about like, oh, not sexualizing moms, it's like, why the hell not? Like, I don't think I've ever been as horny as I was when I was pregnant. You know what I mean? And then like after giving birth, like appreciating my new curves, for example, and like moms can still be sexualized. And it's like what you were saying before about like women are these sexual objects until they're not anymore, until they're meant for childbearing, until they're aged out, for example. And it's like, no, like you can be sexy at every stage, and you should feel sexy at every stage. Does that mean you should be sexualized? Hey, if that's what you're into, then go ahead. Like if you like a whistle and a car honk every now and then, I see nothing wrong with that. But like sex was kind of weird for me after giving birth, because like my body for the longest time was about growing this child. And now that I'm lactating, for example, it's like my breasts really aren't mine at all. And then so like after breastfeeding, and sometimes like you would want to like play with my breasts while we're having sex, right? And I'm like, no, like this doesn't feel like mine. It doesn't feel like yours. I feel like it's purely Nia. So this isn't sexualized at all for me.
You feel like a tenant in your own body sometimes.
100%. So like that was a weird thing to get over. So I think it's also like giving us as women, giving ourselves permission to sexualize ourselves. And then society stopped looking at us as sexy until no longer purposeful, or no longer, I guess purposeful is the word I'm looking for.
Or like no longer in spite of.
What do you mean?
I'm bringing it back to what you had said earlier. Like, you shouldn't feel sexy in spite of something. You should feel sexy because of something.
Yeah.
If that's how you want to feel, like nobody has a right to your body. Nobody has a right to like make you feel a certain way. And that's up to each one of us to feel a certain way. But it's difficult. It's difficult in reality. It's difficult in practice to say, well, if somebody says something mean about me, or if somebody looks at me a certain way or talks about a certain body, Like, I think we've all had a moment similar to this where someone will criticize someone, we're having a conversation, a friend or whatever, and they'll criticize somebody else for something, but we may share that trait with the person that they're criticizing.
Sure.
And there's that moment of awkwardness where like, oh, but like, not like you.
Right.
And maybe they say it, maybe they don't, but it's difficult to do what we should do, which is to just like not even let it affect us. But what we really should be doing, I guess, is saying to our friend, like maybe correcting our friend's behavior on that and saying like, well, and like not in a weird, like awkward, like lecturing kind of way, but like, why do we think these things? Why do we have these opinions?
Yeah. Like my best friend and I think we have very similar body types. And I'll often be so down on myself and just, say, I got to get my ass to the gym. I got to work this off. I got to just saying all this stupid crap, right? And then remembering like, yeah, we have very similar body types. I shouldn't be talking to her like that either.
Sure.
And it's not a matter of I hate my body and I hate hers, because I think she's gorgeous. She is gorgeous. And I think her body is amazing. I think she's super strong. And I think that she's super athletic. Like she's amazing in all those ways. But it's so much easier to love someone else and to be kind to someone else and to see the glory of someone else than it is to have that reflected in yourself, right? And again, going back to like the whole naked mom conversation, it's like being able to appreciate whoever that woman in your life is, whoever that person in your life is, and seeing them in their natural state and seeing them not, having to cover up or rushing to like hide whatever part of their body, because it's not, this evil thing that should be hidden and protected from the world, but it's a matter of like, they're comfortable with that, and that's kind of giving me the permission to be comfortable with that too, whether or not I have that. But like, it exists, and it deserves to exist, and it deserves to exist in whatever space they want it to. Like, that doesn't mean like for women to be comfortable and to be confident, we have to show a bunch of skin, we have to walk around naked. But that also doesn't mean that we don't have to. You know what I mean? It's just like we have bodies, and they deserve to exist in whatever space we want them in.
Yeah, it's tough because where do you learn that from, right? Where do you learn that self-criticism? And I can be critical about myself, and you can be critical about ourselves. And then the question is like, where does our daughter?
Yeah.
When does she pick that up? Does she pick that up? And I don't think it's this explicit, like, we're not saying to our child, and I don't think anybody's saying to their child, any sane person,
Yikes.
is saying, you will get wrinkles one day and you'll feel old and you'll be gross. Or maybe you hear this a little more commonly, like, oh, enjoy your beauty while you're young, or enjoy
now.
this.
Yeah.
Enjoy yourself at every part of the journey, right?
Exactly. And like, you're a reflection. If you're a parent, you're a reflection of what's to come, right? Like if you're related to someone, you're a reflection of what's to come. So when you like growing up and hearing my aunts talk horribly of themselves, like, listen, we are thick women in my family. Like, we start off as really skinny kids, really skinny teenagers, and then around our 20s, we start to get thick. There's a lot of what's the word I'm looking for? Thyroid issues that run in my family, but beyond that, we just get thicker. And I wish I understood and appreciated that as a kid, because that would have saved me from a lot of eating disorders. That would have saved me from a lot of just like self-hatred, because I've appreciated the bodies in my life, like my aunt's bodies, my mom's, my sister's. Like, I think that they're gorgeous, but because despite what I saw from them, what I heard from them was, I need to change this. Or like, oh, look at that cellulite there, or look at that stretch mark there. And you know what I mean? Like, hearing those things and internalizing that instead of holding on to the appreciation that I already had.
Yeah. It's a journey. We're all trying our best. We're all trying to be human beings. We're all trying to be kind to ourselves. And it's breaking the cycle at some point, right? I said it earlier. I think this is learned. And I think that, with each successive generation, I hope the trend continues of people being kinder to ourselves, because I think people are most critical about ourselves. And I think that, like I said a moment ago, it's not necessarily you should feel bad because you look like XYZ. It's 30 years later. Like if your parent at 40 is making comments about like, oh, my skin is doing this and I hate this and whatever. And then like when you're 40,
and your skin starts to do that.
You're like, well, why do I feel like garbage? Like I'm seeing all this positivity in media, let's say. I am myself a logical, intelligent person. I know that I shouldn't be feeling like this. And I know that I generally feel good about myself. Why do I feel like this? And it's that like little inkling in the back of your brain that's just been percolating there for the past 15, 20, 25 years, whatever, where you're like, oh, right, I've bottled this up forever.
Yeah.
And then you got to deal with it and you got to try not to pass it along. And it's easy to, and sometimes necessary to say out loud, I don't like this, I don't like that, I'm going to do this about this, I'm going to do that about that. You know, I've been self-conscious about my hairline forever. I did something about it, but that's also a privileged thing. And I was in a position to make that happen. A lot of people aren't in a position to necessarily undergo cosmetic surgery. And a hair transplant is far easier than, let's say,
a tummy tuck.
Yeah, tummy tuck or you know, even like breast augmentation or a BBL or something like that, facelift.
Definitely BBL, yeah.
And you don't need to get one of those to feel better, but you can't, unfortunately, you can't do it alone. It's not enough for you to say, I'm just going to ignore what society thinks as much as we all wish we could. It takes a village. It takes all of us to make it happen.
Yeah, yeah. And so it makes you think about like nature versus nurture, because like you mentioned, as much as you can appreciate and see and like what you see, it's like, so I'm seeing this in my mom and I think that she's beautiful because of these things and with these things.
Sure.
But she's telling me that it's awful. What am I actually going to bring into my teenage years? What am I actually going to like bring with me into my own adulthood when my body starts to look like that? And so it's being aware of how I'm talking about my body in front of Nia or looking at my body in front of Nia. The other day I heard her say like, I haven't worked out in so long. And I said, Nia, what? Like you've been at the daycare at the gym all day, swimming all day. And I had to explain to her, like, working out is just moving your body. Like, that mommy and daddy do it in different ways because we work all day. So our way of moving our bodies is we go to the gym and we lift weights and we do whatever. I said, but because you're in school and you have daycare or you have recess, that's how you move your body. And I explained to her, like, it's just loving your body by moving it and appreciating it. And so creating that reframe for her that it's not like we do these things because we hate our bodies and we want to change it, but we love our bodies and want to thank it.
So are we pro naked mom? We anti naked mom? I'm getting some pro naked mom vibes from this show.
Listen, I'm pro naked mom for my own mothering, for the way that for the mom that I want to be. But I also understand, like, if that's not you, yeah. But like finding that way, because being a naked mom for me again is just like normalizing my natural female form for my child.
Yeah.
And for myself at the end of the day. But if that's not your way of doing things, I'm going to encourage you to find your way of just like, not just talking the talk, but walking the walk. Like, how can you show your child that you love your body the way it is, and show your body appreciation? That's it.
This is actually a really great segue into Pillow Talk, which is the portion of the show where we get a little more intimate and we ask, maybe like a little dirtier question. And I'm curious, how do you practice self-love? How do you make yourself feel sexy? How do you turn off what the world says, or maybe like turn on what part of the world says, and how do you make that happen for you as a mom? Or not as a mom, but as a I'm going to shut up because you were about to say something.
Because like working it in with the schedule as a mom, I think is what you're getting at. Self-love. There's like so many different forms of self-love, right? So, and like you'll hear me say this a lot on this podcast, just like holistic, approaching things holistically. So, you okay?
Kept it all in the mug.
So it's like I love to get to the gym. I love going there first thing in the morning, or if I can't get there in the morning, going in the evening time. So like I was trying to explain to Nia, like working out or moving your body is not to punish your body or to change it. It's to appreciate it. So for me, I've really, really, really been trying to internalize that, because the gym for the longest time for me has been a punishment. It's like, stupid ass gut, get out of here. You know what I mean? Like flapping arms, like fix yourself. And now I'm going and I've been doing the series on Instagram where I'm trying out a new class at the gym every day.
What's tonight's?
Tonight's Soka size biking class.
Okay.
What's it? It's a cycling class, which I've done before and was a lot of fun. So that's why I'm doing it again. Versus, oh, I felt terrible after that class, and it didn't feel good. I don't like the results, but I'm gonna get the results, so I'm gonna keep doing it. This is like I loved how I felt during the class and after the class, and I'm gonna do it again. So really loving myself by actually showing myself some love and doing things that my body enjoys, and then in terms of spiritually, how I love on myself. Taking on a Sunday night, I do my self-care ritual, which is like a mask and steam and all this. It's a very long, very, very long process. But doing that, and then physically, like in addition to the gym, masturbation is a form of self-love. I don't often take time to do that. But then sometimes I'll be in the middle of work and be like, you know what? I work for myself. I have time. I'm at my house. And you know what? Whip out one of my toys.
Good
or
for
call
you.
Upstairs. Like.
I feel like it's different. I feel like it's maybe we should do an episode on naked dad sometimes.
We'll speak on it a little bit, or a lot.
On how I practice self-love as a naked dad.
Yeah.
For the record, I am not a naked dad. This is not judging naked dads. I feel like a naked dad is not the same as a naked mom. I mean, how do I practice self-love? By like affirming things out loud, by saying like, I deserve this, I'm entitled to this, like I deserve peace, I'm entitled to, like this morning I said out loud, I had a good protein-filled breakfast. And I was flustered because I had a bunch of emails I had to get to. And I'm like, no, I deserve to take 10 minutes to eat a breakfast this morning. Because it's usually like a cereal or it's a whatever, and I'm sitting in front of my. Yesterday I had a decaf and a chocolate bar for breakfast, like not ideal.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I'm not going to go to my desk. I'm going to sit at the table, and I played radio, and I ate some good food, and that felt good.
Yeah.
So I think reminding myself that like I am entitled to that, I think that's a form of self-love for me.
And nourishing your body
Yeah.
is a form of self-love. I mean, like. It sucks because society has like turned the whole self-love movement and like into this whole wishy-washy thing where it's like you have to do a face mask and like buy this product to show yourself self-love, but like it really does come down to caring for yourself on a holistic level, and sometimes it's doing the crap that you don't want to do but you have to because it's for your betterment. So it's like days when I don't want to go to therapy at all and I don't want to break down, I don't want to acknowledge what's going on. Form of self-care, self-love is doing that hard thing because I know in the long run it's going to be better for me.
Yeah.
I would also challenge you saying you're not a naked dad because you walk around in your underwear quite often, and I think it's a good thing because it like also empowers me that I don't need to like run and hide my body either.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just don't like wearing pants. I don't like wearing jeans.
See?
You
Yeah,
know,
because is that not a naked
uncomfortable.
dad?
Yeah, and I'm usually like working downstairs in my studio, and like it gets really hot down there because we have this crazy computer that generates so much heat, and it gets hot down here, and I'm like stretching and stuff, and I'm like maybe working with film chemicals, and I don't want to stain all my clothes. So naked dad by utility sometimes. I think. Mailbox is the portion of the show where we address your comments, concerns, questions, and today's is a little bit different. I'm not going to name the show, but somebody reached out from one of those reality shows that like it's a couple of months long, and it's like join us Tuesdays and Wednesdays and Thursdays on whatever, and it's it doesn't have to be a couple, but it could be a team of people, and maybe you've got to complete a bunch of challenges.
The more you give it away. So
they asked us if we wanted to be on this, and you and I disagreed originally. I think we're on the same page, but I'm curious, like, what was your reaction when we first got that request?
Absolutely not. And I said this then, and I'll say it now. The reality show curse for couples means that 100% of reality show couples end in divorce. And I don't know if this counts like Netflix couples, for example, but like when did reality shows start? I guess like 90s with The Real World. But every couple that was married on TV since then has ended in divorce. And when Tiana and Iman, that's his name?
Shumpert?
Iman Shumpert, yeah. When they announced the reality show, I was like, damn, as much as I love y'all and I want to see what y'all are up to, I don't want y'all to get hurt. I don't want this to end in divorce. And I'm not saying that the show did it. Like,
they divorced.
Exist.
Oh, man.
They're going through divorce right now. And I was like, damn. And so, like, I think that us being in charge of, like, how much does and doesn't get shown on camera is how we go about this whole being a creator couple or couple who also creates together. Because, like, we need to be the editors. We need to be the ones who are in charge of, like, there are episodes that have never made it to air because we didn't feel comfortable with it, right? But, like, somebody else creating chaos and creating drama, that's a recipe for divorce.
Yeah, you've got a producer there that, like, maybe not not all reality shows.
Name
but
one.
Producers are like, they want to get as much drama out of this as possible, right? And you see like a married couple and maybe you want to push them a little bit further. For me, it was more, we would have to be away from our child for like a month and a half. And like, that was the biggest concern for me. I don't know if I believe the reality show curse. There's hundreds of thousands of people have been on reality shows and, you know, I'm sure some of them are still together, but it was like not seeing my kid for a month. Like, that's difficult. And it reminded me of being in the hospital and not being able to see her for a couple of weeks. Like, maybe when she's older, I don't know. That's a long time. Maybe if she could come along.
Yes, she can.
That might be even more stressful. I don't know. But I was excited about it.
Yeah.
It's always nice to be invited. Yeah. We've invited to be on a couple of TV shows and, you know, schedules get in the way or whatever. But listen, flattered to be invited. Thank you. Always invite me to things. Even if I'm not going to show up and even if you don't want me to be there, just invite me anyway. Invite me because I promise not to show. Follow this woman on Instagram at dom.creates, at domcreates on TikTok and everywhere else. And you can catch me at Kolter Talks, Kolter with a K, which you probably already know because it's on screen already, at Kolter Talks everywhere. And we will see you next Monday at 6 a.m.